It's production time. I'm Reid Stefan Realest Puppet in the game. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to mix vocals from scratch. I'm going to be using plugins from the Eventide Anthology Bundle to mix these lead vocals, backgrounds, Adlibs, and a few other special effects along the way. The song that you're going to be hearing is Kara's cover of Move Your Body, a popular classic from Nina Sky, and it was reinvented and slowed down, and I think there's a lot of opportunities along the way to add some special effects and do something really creative. So let's start out by listening to the vocal recordings.
Move your body, girl, makes the fellas go. The way you ride it, girl, makes the fellas go. Ooh, move your body, girl, makes the fellas go. Makes the fellas go.
But that just gives you an idea of the style of vocal that we're going to be working on today. I like to take care of some basic vocal needs with EQ. The SplitEQ is one of my favorite new tools that can do some very advanced stuff, but like I said, we're starting with the basics, so let's just cut out some of the lows in this vocal, and we can change this to a low cut. I like combining a low cut and a low shelf. We're not going to be separating the transients and tones. For female vocals, I always like a low cut between 90 and 120, depending on whether she's singing high notes or low notes. And I find that a lot of mics kind of have boxy, rumbly low end, and having a low shelf that kind of goes all the way up through the mids and the lows to control that at once.
Move your body, girl, makes the fellas go.
And then I can push up the output a little bit to make up.
And
let's turn it off. So this is just doing your general low end control, filtering away the unwanted low frequencies, creating a shelf to reduce or maybe boost if your vocals feel like they're sounding a little bit thin. But a lot of times singers are too close up on the mic, and this will help battle that extra proximity effect.
Move your body, girl, makes the fellas.
Let's turn it off.
The way you ride it, girl, makes the fellas go.
Back on.
Move your body, girl, makes the fellas go. Makes the fellas go.
Subtractive EQ is a great way to actually add brightness. After we reduce and take away a lot of the low end, we boost the output volume, leaving you with a louder impression of the brighter material in that vocal. A great way to avoid adding artificial artifacts from boosting EQs and having it try and put fake brightness in there. Just take away some of the darkness and then boost the volume of what's left. The next thing that we're going to do is going to take care of some of the harsh sibilants and de-essing in the vocals, give it just a generally more controlled sound. And that's the Eventide EChannel. This plugin is a bunch of plugins within one, where you have your input gain, a gate if you need it, a compression section, and another EQ section. So let's just start out by turning the compression threshold down a little bit so we can see it working. And I'm just going to start it from here.
Roll up in the club, looking fly.
Like a 3-to-1 ratio. I always like to use the makeup gain at about whatever level I'm attenuating at. So it's lingering between -6 and -3, which is perfect. So I'm just going to try about 3 dB of makeup. I like to have a slower attack on these slower vocal styles. And a medium release. I usually use the vocal cadence to dictate the release. A really fast flow like a rap might sound good with a fast release, and long, lush notes could sound good with a slower release. So for my vocal performance, I might keep the release at the default 50 or maybe even increase it a little bit.
Roll up in the club, looking fly.
The next control we have is saturation, and this does similar to what a preamp would do, enhancing the harmonic richness of the signal in a light and pleasing way. I'm going to keep that engaged, and I'm also going to turn the de-esser on. Normally for female vocals, I like 6 or 7K, so I'm just going to pull this down a little bit. And let's take a listen to this, and we'll turn the saturator and de-esser on and off so you can hear what they're doing.
Roll up in the club, looking
solo the vocal.
fly. Made you first
Turn off saturation.
caught his eye. So then move your way towards the dance floor.
De-esser.
Grab her hand and she leads first.
I'm going to turn it back on and play this last phrase. Has some S's in it.
Grab her hand and she leads first. Grab her hand and she leads first.
Now we have an EQ section where you can add a little bit more tone shaping, or you can not use it at all. Let's try just sweeping around and seeing if there's any spots that sound nice being boosted.
Grab her hand and she leads first. Whole night has gotten through.
Around 500 has a lot of content in this voice.
You let me grind on you. If I lick my lips, I'm probably feeling you. I'ma make you go, go, go. Ooh.
We're also around 8K, has a lot of nice content too.
Makes the fellas go. The way you ride it, girl.
And let's turn the EQ off.
Makes the fellas go. Ooh, move your body, girl.
Back on.
Makes the fellas go. Makes the fellas go.
EQ after the de-esser will help make up for the loss of brightness that you get. The music production in this upcoming chorus has a lot of punchy drums and layers and things that the vocals are going to struggle to cut through a little bit. So I'm going to add more compression using Eventide Omnipressor. And this is going to be a basic parallel compression setup. I'm going to use my favorite Ableton trick and turn a plugin into a parallel chain by hitting Create Chain. And this is effectively your dry signal. And this is our, I'll call it glue, but it's the Omnipressor in there. Since we're doing this in parallel, I'm going to use the most aggressive compression mode, and that's going to be an infinite to 1 ratio. I also want to speed up the release time just to make everything feel nice and snappy. And the attack time at 10 milliseconds is perfect. That's like a medium attack. You'll also get some snap at the beginning of the words. The release time will give you some more snap at the end of the words.
Whoa, you're feeling it now.
And let's bring it in.
Take it slow. You're turning me on. Club get
right in your
warmer.
face.
Body moves closer. One
Without
with
it.
the rhythm. Don't stop moving.
Back
You're
on.
making me hot. From head to toe.
Another feature that I love in this is the option to cut the bass out of what the compressor is hearing. This gives you an overall brighter parallel compression by just low cutting the signal that the compressor is listening to.
Whoa, you're feeling it now. Take it slow. You're turning me on.
Back on.
Club get warmer. Body moves closer. One with the rhythm. Don't stop moving, you're making me hot. From head to toe.
And that's a great way to set up parallel compression using the Eventide Omnipressor. You can also use the mix knob, but I just like having this extra control where your dry level is separate from your wet level, I guess you could call it, even though this is just compression, not like a reverb or anything. Speaking of reverb, I think this vocal is ready for a little bit of effects. I'm going to use this same effects rack, and I'm going to create 2 reverbs. I like having the option between a short and a long one. For my short reverb, I really like the SP2016. I feel like it's a great blend between a classic style reverb and a modern reverb that you'd find in a plugin. And we're going to pull down the volume of it a little bit. And my favorite feature is the ability to send your reverb from front to back. I guess this is F and R's front and rear.
Makes the fellas go.
Let's turn the reverb up.
Girl, makes the fellas go. Ooh, move your body, girl.
We'll turn the decay up.
Makes the fellas go.
And let's solo this vocal.
Whoa, you're feeling it now. Take it
Take it to the front.
You're turning me on. Club get warmer. Body moves closer. One with the rhythm.
Further back.
Don't stop moving, you're making me hot.
So you really get to pick within this reverb how far or close you are to the sound source, which is a really interesting control you don't get in a lot of other reverbs. I'm going to keep this somewhere in the middle.
Makes the fellas go. The way you ride it, girl, makes the fellas go.
Just turn up the decay.
Move your body, girl, makes the fellas go. Makes the fellas go.
And that's going to be our short reverb. Now I want to add a long reverb, and this one has been a long time favorite. It's been in my vocal template for a long time, and that's the Eventide Blackhole. And this will be long reverb. And let's take a listen to this.
From head to toe, I feel your flow. Vibes get stronger, stronger. Body seems stronger, longer. Makes me really want ya. Don't stop moving, you're making me.
And right here is a great opportunity to create a switch up in the reverbs. Now, having two reverbs going the entire song can get a little boring, and audio effect racks give you a great option to just show mute automation. And let's maybe take away the long reverb to bring it right up into your face right before this drop. Let's go right here.
Makes me really want ya.
Right on this line. So we're just going to highlight here. And I'm also going to go into this short reverb, and I'm going to use this control that I love, the position control. If you just jiggle the control, Ableton will automatically show you the automation lane for it. And I'm just going to drag this down, so put it right in front of your face.
Want ya. Don't stop moving, you're making me. Move your body, girl, makes the
Next effect I think this vocal really needs is some delay. Using the H3000 band delays. To create some quarter note delays, we're just gonna drag these onto each bar.
Move your body, girl, makes the fellas go. The way you ride it, girl, makes the fellas go. Ooh, move your body, girl, makes the fellas go. Makes the fellas go.
And we could turn the feedback up to give it more repeats. So we essentially just put a delay on each quarter note.
Move your body, girl, makes the fellas go. The way you ride it, girl, makes the fellas go.
And each delay has its own space in the filter, which makes this a really unique delay plugin.
Move your body, girl, makes the fellas go. The way you ride it, girl,
Really cool effect.
makes the fellas go. Ooh, move your body, girl.
You can also change the Q factor to make it less wide and
Makes
resonant,
the fellas go.
and turn up the volume.
Roll up in the club, looking fly. Made your first approach.
You can make the whole thing brighter or darker.
So then move your way towards the dance floor. Grab her hand and she reaches for.
You can also invert the phase.
If I lick my lips, I'm probably feeling you. I'ma make you go, go, go.
That way the delays are out of phase from the upcoming dry vocals. You can even add some swing or delay to the feedback with this too by further delaying it beyond just the quarter note that we have set up. We also have a couple of lead vocals separated down into other channels here because I wanted them to have their own really special effects.
Makes the fellas go.
And I also want to mute this whole chain. This is another great reason I love using audio effect racks. I want it to be dry for right here for the last two beats of the bar.
Makes the fellas go.
And I'm going to do all the effects down here. So I'm going to take this word go and do what's called a reverse reverb on it. I'm going to very easily duplicate it. And I can take a new reverb that we haven't used yet just to kind of create a new style, like the UltraVerb. And we're going to create a 100% wet duplicate, which means we're just going to grab this and turn this all the way up. And I might also increase the decay time of this reverb a little bit, and we'll shorten it later if we want a shorter reverb tail. Before we print this with the reverb on it, I'm going to reverse it by just hitting the letter R, and it's going to sound like this. And then we could take this channel, freeze track, and it shows you that the audio tail goes all the way out to here when you flatten it. And now I'm going to take this piece, and that's going to be my reverb head, and this piece is going to get trashed. I'm going to use the letter R to reverse my audio once again. And we're going to drag this leading up to the word go. We can turn the warp off because we're not going to warp this. It will just turn the volume up a little bit. Create a crossfade to shorten it.
Makes the fellas go.
And I love how everything is super saturated and wet. This reverse reverb goes into a soft little whisper, and then doof, the beat drops on you, creating amazing tension and suspense. It's just such an effective trick. I'm also going to copy and paste this little reverb head because we have this.
Makes me really want ya. Don't stop moving you.
Can even use it leading up to that. And I'm going to use this as another opportunity to automate my delays off.
Makes me really want ya. Don't stop moving, you're making me. Your body, girl, makes the fellas go.
So there you have all the effects for the lead vocals, including some special effects. The last spot I want to create a really special moment in this lead vocal is in the final chorus. We have this big vocal where she's not really singing any words, just singing this big, beautiful melody. And I think it's a great opportunity to do a really impactful effect. I'm going to grab another instance. I think the Blackhole reverb will be really good for this. And I'm going to put it before the multiband compression in this chain. That will give it a lot of suction and loudness. I want the reverb to be really noticeable. And then here we have an auto pan, and this is doing a tremolo, and I have automation automating the speed and amount of that tremolo. You'll see it morphing with these two knob automations as we go. And for something like this, I actually prefer to use the mix knob over a setup like we have on the other lead channel because I want to push this into the background. I want the music production to be in the foreground. This is almost like what a drop in an EDM song would be for. So having the vocal, the lead push back a little bit, using the mix into the black hole, going through this crazy effect is just such a treat to listen to. I wanted to turn the vocal into almost something that feels like an EDM lead. So OTT is a perfect choice for that. But the real sauce that blasts this into outer space, of course, is the black hole. So there you have all the special effects and the basics for our lead vocal. Let's move down here to our background vocals. We have a huge group of doubles and harmonies. I'm going to take all of them and hit Command G to put them into an actual group so we could do some processing on them as a whole. I individually like to tune them if necessary, but other than that, I think group processing is great for background vocals. So this is going to be B, G, V. And let's take a listen to our vocal section with the beat muted.
Makes the fellas go.
I'm going to grab this effects rack.
Whoa, you fit
And this is going to be a great starting point for what we can do down here.
slow. You're turning me on. Club get warmer. Body moves closer. One with the rhythm. Don't stop moving, you're making me hot.
And let's play this with the beat now. So now we have a whole separate effects rack for our vocals. And another thing that I like to do to all my background vocals, just to push them more into the background, is a little bit of filtering. So I'm just going to pull up another SplitEQ, and we could do an overall low cut.
Slow, you're turning me on. Club get warm.
I like to boost a little bit of the warmth just to make up for what's being cut. And we'll also do a high cut too. Not a huge one. We'll just cut it at about like 15K or so. 12 maybe?
You're turning me on. Club get warmer. Body moves closer. one with the rhythm. Don't stop moving, you're making me hot.
Might also boost some highs right here by the filter.
I feel your flow. Vibes get stronger. Party seems longer. Makes me really want ya. Don't stop moving, you're making me move your body, girl.
And for these background vocals, I think I'm going to balance the long reverb a little bit louder in the mix than the short reverb, create a little bit more difference between what's supposed to be in the front and what's supposed to be in the background. And of course, I did all sorts of panning. Here in the background vocals, I have some doubles panned hard left and right, some different harmonies, high octaves, low octaves, and I like to create variation in the panning amounts that I choose so it covers the whole stereo spectrum. So that's something that was done while I was recording, actually. I just like to hear that as I go. And then on each channel, like I said, is just some general tuning or maybe some multi-band compression to help it cut through. Having this parallel glue here on the entire group is all these background vocals need to not compete with the lead vocals, but still be nice and upfront.
From head to toe, I feel your flow. Vibes get stronger. Party seems longer. Makes me really want ya. Don't stop moving, you're making me
amazing. And finally, below all of our background vocals, we have our adlibs. And adlibs are similar to a lead where they're all by themselves. They act as little counter melodies or an echo or little bits of personality sprinkled throughout your song. And we can copy a very similar chain down than we did from the background vocals, but we're just going to make a few different edits to it. So I'm going to grab this and put it after the multiband. And I'm going to go into SplitEQ and I'm going to do even more aggressive low cutting. I want to cut out all the bass in these, make these vocals sound really thin. And I also want to cut out all of the high end, make these vocals sound very muffled. Now we're stuck almost with like a telephone effect, which is going to be perfect for making these cut through the mix.
move your way towards the dance floor.
Awesome.
Grab her hand and she is firm. Hold tight.
And we can do a little dip in the mid-range
Stand behind.
so it doesn't get too harsh.
Let me grind on you. If I lick my lips, I'm probably feeling you.
And we can go hard on the delay with these, the long reverb. We might even be able to turn up to be an even longer long reverb. Turn the size up a little bit and maybe some pre-delay.
Move your way towards the dance floor.
Some feedback.
Grab her hand and she is firm. Hold tight.
And turn them down in the mix a little bit.
It's gotten through. Stand behind. Let me grind on you. If I lick my lips, I'm probably feeling you.
We can even enhance these more with the Crushstation plugin, which is exactly as the name implies, a variety of different distortion and saturation effects that you can add to your voice. And we're going to use this at just a small amount.
Move your way towards the dance.
That way we're adding a little bit of drive, some more gritty compression to it, making up for that filtering that we did earlier in the chain. Let's cut to the end and listen to the ending ad-libs.
Don't stop moving, you're making me move your body, girl. Girl, the way you ride it, girl. Oh, your body, girl, makes the fellas go, makes the fellas go.
So those are our processes for the lead vocals, background vocals, and ad-libs. starting from the basic EQ, compression, reverb, and delay effects, a little bit of automation, special effects to create special moments in your song, and of course the ad-libs, the cherry on top of the entire vocal production, with even more sauce to help them sit nicely in the background of the mix. And that is how you mix vocals from scratch using plugins from the Eventide Anthology Bundle. If you want to check out this collection of tools for yourself, I'll put a link in the description below, and catch you guys next time in another tutorial. Peace out.